Welcome everyone to another episode of Retro Wrestling Reviews. Fredo Esparza here, and this week we look back at the World Class Championship Wrestling's February 27th, 1982 show. Before we get to the review, be sure to click that subscribe button. We'll have more wrestling show reviews as well as the Lucha World podcast and other content available. This week's episode from World Class is hosted by Mark Lawrence, who is in for Gene Goodson this week on commentary, and he is joined by Kevin Von Erich. Joe Ranelli is the ring announcer. The first match is Bugsy McGraw beating Relampago Leon after a top rope splash. Mark Lawrence and Kevin Von Erich mention how Bugsy recently lost the American Heavyweight title to Kerry Von Erich. Relampago Leon uses his speed to counter a lot of McGraw's offense and his size in this match. He has a noticeable size advantage in this. Relampago Leon also gets in a lot of offense against McGraw in the match, which I thought was pretty cool considering McGraw's a big guy and Leon is he works more of the lucha style, so he brought that there. I think you noticed that when Kevin Von Erich's on commentary, he brings that up with a lot of the Latino wrestlers that are at that time wrestling world class. A lot of them, some of them wrestled a lot in Mexico, others were mainly wrestling in Texas. But Kevin would always point out that even the Latin wrestlers in Texas were really working, were really trained in lucha libre as well. So he always brought that up. I thought that was always cool, and as far whenever he commentated, and he even talked about how he took some of the stuff from Mexico when he would tour Mexico or work with luchadors, that he would get some of that stuff like the head scissors and the body scissors, stuff like that. You see that he uses. You could tell he got that from guys from Mexico. The match itself, I thought, was pretty good. McGraw, like I said, gave Relampago Leon a lot of offense, and then eventually got the big win late as this went along. After this match, they air an interview with King Kong Bundy and Gary Hart joining Mark Lawrence. Hart mentions that everyone understands money. He understands wrestling ability, and he knew that Fritz Von Erich wasn't going to help King Kong Bundy because Fritz is only going to help his kid. Hart says Bundy found that out, and he's paying Bundy big bucks and not nickels and dimes like the Von Erichs were. He says Bundy isn't dressing like a farmer and isn't going to waste his time doing the stuff he was doing with the Von Erichs. King Kong Bundy then says he is happy now making money, which is all he cares about. He doesn't agree with Fritz Von Erich about this being about sportsmanship. He only cares about money, and Gary Hart is giving it to him. Gary Hart then says Bundy doesn't have to worry about money anymore because he has him now. This was a really good interview. That was then followed by the second match, which was Al Madril beating Captain Frank Dusek, who was accompanied to the ring by Wild Bill Irwin. Madril won via disqualification due to Dusek using a whip and hitting Madril with it. This was a rematch from one of their recent, I think one of the recent shows had the previous match. The crowd chanted Chauncey at Bill Irwin. Madril was looking to get some revenge on Dusek after he was injured in the previous match. Referee David Manning wanted Wild Bill Irwin out of the ringside area and eventually got him to get out of there, although Irwin did leave his whip, which would later be used by Dusek. This had a lot of fast-paced action, with Madril punching a lot and Dusek doing whatever he could to gain an advantage, which led to him grabbing that whip that was left by Irwin and striking Madril, which earned him the DQ loss. That was then followed by an interview as Fritz Von Erich joined Mark Lawrence for an interview. He said his sons are doing well. He worries about Gary Hart and his stable. He says he lost 20% of his vision due to the Great Kabuki and Val's revenge. Fritz says Big Daddy Bundy, who is now King Kong Bundy and working with Gary Hart, he has doubts about Bundy when he first showed up, and Bundy tried to hurt Kevin, and the Von Erichs now vow revenge against Hart, Bundy, and Kabuki. Fritz says Gary Hart has been a thorn on the side of his for the past 20 years. That was then followed by a match featuring King Kong Bundy as he beat El Negro Assassin after a corner splash got him the pin. Kevin Von Erich was again on commentary and mentioned that he was friends with Bundy, and they even took him hunting and fishing with them, and he can't believe that he turned on the Von Erichs. Ring announcer actually introduced him as Big Daddy Bundy, but Hart corrected him, This was a short match with Bundy pretty much dominating it all the way. Bundy then followed after the match, beating up the El Negro Assassin again. He just continued to beat him up after the match. Kevin had left midway during this match to prepare for his match that was coming up next. And that was the match that followed. Kevin Von Erich versus Wild Bill Irwin with Captain Frank Dusek. This ended in a time limit draw. Mark Lawrence mentioned that next week's show had Kevin and Kerry Von Erich versus King Kong Bundy and Arman Hussein. I thought this match was a good back and forth match with each putting together some good offense. Crowd was hot for it and doing the Chauncey chat at Irwin. Initially, match ended in a DQ when Dusek interfered. Kevin Von Erich refused to accept the win in that manner and grabbed the mic and said, if Von Erich doesn't win a match like that, and yells out, Chauncey, you come back here and you take your whipping. So the match continued with Kevin trying to get the iron claw on Irwin's stomach. Both work fast as the time limit is coming up. Bell rang to declare a time limit draw, but both men continued to brawl. As the brawl continues, Kevin went at it with Irwin and Dusek. They both fled the ringside area, and Kevin wanted the match restarted, but it was too late as TV time ran out. We did hear Mark Lawrence mention that we missed out on Kerry Von Erich versus Carlos Zapata due to the TV time running out, which I'm sure we could live through. I'm sure countless people from that era managed to live without for time being. I'm sure they probably even had a match they actually had a match prior to that, a couple of weeks prior, I think, or numerous times, so it's not that big of a loss. I thought this show was excellent. Matches were all pretty good, with the best match being Kevin Von Erich versus Wild Bill Irwin. Giving everyone an update on this, but Kevin was still wearing wrestling boots at this point. That's your Kevin Von Erich wearing wrestling boots update of the week. The 2 interview segments were great as well. I just thought this was a really fun show to watch, with the crowd as also providing a ton of energy throughout. Probably one of the better world-class TV shows from their first half of the year, as every match was pretty good. Very watchable show. I highly recommend watching this on the WWE Network. Unless you have it, I'm sure some people have it on video, but definitely if you don't have it on video, check it out on WWE Network. That's it for this week's review. Be sure to subscribe to the Retro Wrestling YouTube channel, and we'll be back again soon with more reviews.